If you happen to be familiarized with certain declarations I've offered surrounding PYRAMAZE's Epitaph and my introductory survey of a selection of works off of that album, you'll note that in consideration of Steal My Crown, I told you there was a transformation of original anticipation in selection count, where Epitaph I had presumed we were going to hit on about 5 numbers together in first engagement. Our account got extended with Epitaph from 5 to 7. And it was based on a review that I read, I believe off of Metal Archives. I forget exactly which one it was at the moment. It's been some time since I initiated with that piece, admittedly. But man, Steal My Crown, though, is made for a fun re-listen. I loved it. Or, as well, our initiation track of A Stroke of Magic. Both were great, but that last one especially, I still love that dance mood to it. It's a fun rock number. Beautiful voice in the European metal territory. But lyrically speaking, I found this one, and I've said before with metal and rock music to be inclusive to both extremes because there is a natural intersection. One of the earliest connection points I had with it was the open cathartic spirit. And there's a resonance to Your Last Call when I read a review on its inspired meaning that I couldn't shake. And I'm going to offer probably a paraphrase from later because I don't have the review pulled up, but I remember the general gist of it. And it's actually, in fact, identified clearly within the song. Now, I think it would be wise as we go through the piece, especially in approaching it, if you happen to be an initiation witness, that I not identify what the message is. It's a dense work, and one that, again, carries with it a human resonance, and one that I feel, is certainly in my life, is quite contemporary in experience, and one that maybe others would share. We're going to take a first introduction to it mutually on musical respect grounds with the instrumental. So it's kind of a 50-50 balance of fresh for me, and where I don't know the score, but I've skimmed the lyrics, and I already know the presumed identity of the piece, at least according to one review translation, or again, one that I see in faith to where the number goes on tracking, but I could still see a bit of a broad touch in interpretation, slightly. Again, we're going to have a fun discussion on it, I believe, and I'd love to do that with music. Again, first love in my life amongst the artistic languages, and I think it's even better to enjoy it in mutual company, however we approach, by the way. And some of you are going to be of mutual standing to me, I would imagine, with PYRAMAZE, and you have not yet humored their work. I hope for that. Though alongside all of you fresh initiates like myself, I do hope longtime fans feel welcome as well. I know the many of you that advanced me, right? PYRAMAZE, mandated name. Not just, of course, on their own strengths, and now what I've witnessed, and what I can presume will also be of adequate delivery within these Danish origin grounds. A couple groups likewise have humored from that country of origin, of more to come, certainly in my list of considerations or what's coming in terms of phase 2. And just so we're all on even footing in terms of anticipation on musical voice, power metal influence. Favorite of mine that's growing, even though symphonic metal is my preferred, dominant love, but power metal also has a great exchange and a presence on this channel that is building readily. PYRAMAZE, one of the newest names, and like any artist I highlight here, it's an honor to feature them, and to perhaps take a mutual path of first witness, as we're maybe doing together, a possibility, right? Again, I think Epitaph has been great so far, but this one, at least on narrative, I haven't surveyed the other ones in depth yet of where we're going, but this one really spoke to me, at least in response, again, of where I currently sit with it, that I couldn't ignore it. And certain numbers within the metal and rock world command a deeper dive. I think Your Last Call is perfect evidence of this. Now, again, as I said, I'm not going to tell you the interpretation. I think you'll see that explored, but I want to keep this as open of a doorway as possible, because I could see if I were to tailor the ground for you, so to speak, with, again, the song's potential and quite evident identity, I think, there might be a slight transformation given destination of number and thematic cohesion to contemporary placement that might render this song to some seemingly inaccessible. And I want to do it justice because I think this piece offers a special destination, namely on lyrical insight. Musical suspicion, though, I imagine this piece would impress broadly. So again, I want to keep an open door on this. And for PYRAMAZE, it's our third track together, and I've been waiting to build out again for some time, especially with subsequent destinations that PYRAMAZE is leading to. You'll see when we get to track 5 in our survey of Epitaph, but I think I've identified before what exactly I'm building at, but for now I'm keeping it simple. Let's engage with Your Last Call. I've been wanting to for some time, but let's give this track the deep dive it deserves together, I think, on perhaps mutual first witness. Here we go. And let's see how complementary the mood is in terms of a narrative destination. So far, it's an engager of a number. And you got that power metal root again. I love the synth touch. Real gravitas and range to that number. It feels quite epic on scale. I was going to say fantasy touch, but it's definitively cinematic to me. Beautiful breaks. They're simple, but I appreciate them. I said before, they really are like the European Shine Down on vocals. It's wonderful. Oh, the key on this one I love already. Great vocal scaling, and beautiful A too, where we go lyrically. It really heightens the appreciation. And I think the identity will become a little more evident as we go deeper into the song, specifically in our next verse. But you can already see certain traits perhaps, right? I love the symphonic resonance on this one. It's, oh man. Oh man, I like those choruses so much. I really appreciate that this song still allows for, I think, a wide intrusion. On audience, it's specified from lyrical intent, but it keeps an open door to any approach. Again, we're going to talk about that more in a minute. One more refrain, I love it. It's a potent work. We intermix on the conclusion between symphonic and power metal balance. I love it. I knew that one would offer a significant picture, quite sophisticated and complex one in terms of lyrical destination, but the score is amazing. Those choruses are something beautiful. I know, again, it's so simple and focused for me, but I just love that symphonic trait. And the lines, it's a precise touch, but the climb and that drift, I think it's on a B to, I believe, a C sharp. Yeah, it's a B to a C sharp, D, and a decline back. It's on 4 notes. You hold the reins. I love that structure. Well, in reverse would be the opposite, visually. But you get what I mean. It's perfect. It is such an endearing tune to listen to. A transformative work, and again, a perfect balance on different mood extremes. Now, On Lyrical Destination, I intentionally, as I said, did not tell you what the identity was in case you never humored it before, because I did not want to give you a presumption on what the song's destination would be in a way that might render it limited. Because I think to frame its identity outright would be a disservice to the piece, where it still allows a broad applicability, and I still see a connection, though admittedly. So again, considering a concentration specifically on the second verse, progressive thoughts always were dangerous and bold when narrow-minded shook their heads. When you consider the first verse as we open to the song in connection to exposure to the second verse of what I just identified for you, you get to observe the directed linear path the song takes. So when I read it, I know the destination point. But if you don't know, and I can see this as I listen to the song for myself, there's still a broad window to it. That for anybody that might be approaching on different angles of viewpoint, this song still gives you a place in its audience. You still feel welcome and not like the door's been closed on you. Admittedly, when I consider the song's destination, so if I had to sum the identity of it, at least when I read it again, in key focus of that second verse, to me it's a quite introspective and I think beautifully articulated, quite authentically, voice of change in political perception. Specifically, I'm assuming, I don't know, who it was of, I'm still, again, relatively fresh standing of exposure of PYRAMAZE. And this could be the general band voice, or it might be one member specified, again, on who wrote the lyrics. I'm not exactly sure, again, and I don't want to frame it incorrectly. But if I had to sum the song down, it's a investigation into change of mindset on political matters to a more progressive leaning edge. And again, to restate, I think it's of significant value that I didn't initiate conversation on that path. You survey that second chorus and you see the honesty explicitly. Again, that's the core identity of the song from a personalized lens. But the beauty about this is when you read the song generally, I think it's welcoming to anybody. Even those of us that might take differentiated paths in life on independent destination. And when we consider a landscape of politics, that's a, messy space in terms of cohesion among groups. I've certainly witnessed that myself more than I'd like to in life. I wish there was some balance, even though my vantage point's interesting. I would say admittedly, and maybe this is again part of the reason I didn't preface this song on discovery of what the song's identity was. When you explain it as this is a song that's demonstrating a person's individualized transformation from one political destination to a deterrent point with a more progressive orientation. I do think in our day and age that would limit a piece in perception, just in the climate we live in, right? I'm not speaking generally of in particular environment, I'm just saying the general political landscape. I could see that being an argument of, well, I might not necessarily want to venture down the path of the song. I don't think that would be a faith to this piece, because again, I still see a welcome mat for anyone. Even those of us like myself who've decided to intentionally distance ourselves from politics for whatever reason and avoid it to the best of your extent like the plague, and I certainly have made a lot of efforts in that. So even in my position, I feel this song kind of speaks to me. And it really helps, as I said, when you read the verses outside of that second chorus. Whenever you yourself evaluate the piece with a clear destination in mind that might be in lockstep with the mindset of the piece, and the lyrical inspiration, or on a deterrent path, or maybe no path altogether, you still see how open the song is to anybody to approach. At least I read into it like this. And again, maybe I'm just, one perception, and maybe there would be alignment on this or disagreement, right? Music is very much a subjective, individualized experience. It's just how I'm evaluating this piece for myself. I consider my self-led standing of abstinence from political involvement in any respect possible. My perception of the world, let me go back a little further actually. Loner in a foreign place, a careless runaway. My perception of the world grew different from the rest. Even outside of its clear destination, as specified by the second verse, that could speak to so many people. Again, the biggest disservice I think I could give this piece is to initiate with a declared meaning, and that's why I didn't. Because you still read it. I think this song is quite beautiful. Summed up in whatever extreme you look at on music, it's perfect. I love the balance of the number, the key tracking, the vocal shifts, as I said, with that B to the B to the D window. You know, I like the first two a lot, but Your Last Call on musical delivery, I knew lyrically speaking, it would be a sophisticated number to explore. But the musical proficiency and the balance again on a power and symphonic drive. I know it's a lighter touch with the symphonic, and that was not necessarily emphasized by the one bio destination I found on reference, but I love anything symphonic metal. And when you bring in that extra atmosphere quality to a piece, it just, I love it. And just hearing it here, it was such a nice shift of expectation and evolution of my suspicion on how good this number would be. But then again, you look at the lyrics. No more pretending we are one. I won't be a victim of your regime. I'm not a victim of mainstream. Oh, amen. That is so my status today. I'm such an anomaly. I am lost in the dream of salvation. You hold the reins to your own decreation. I've not heard that word spoken of quite often. Again, the song might have a clear destination in mind. And that might be an explanation that is felt among different listeners. But it's still a song that casts a broad window. That really is a welcoming number. Loner in a foreign place, a careless runaway. Isn't that kind of the mindset of every metal fan, by the way? Again, broad net. I see possibilities of translation, and they're quite endearing. My perception of the world grew different from the rest. Oh, amen. Now, again, there is an explicit meaning of its ties to and connection, but you can also view it different ways. That's the beauty about songs like this, that they have such grand scale to them, in variated translation, or possibility of. The more I think of Your Last Call, the more I like it. Its authenticity on entrance, I understood. But I respect it even more so now because I see of how broad it is. It's a number that welcomes anybody, and it exudes a lot of strength, whether on lyrical destination or again on musical proficiency. PYRAMAZE has impressed me. I'm glad I decided to make some exceptions to what I had planned, right, with just a 5-number survey of Epitaph. To broaden it out to 7 made sense. Now, having humored Your Last Call, I'd love to hear if you see the same beauty of this piece that I do, or whatever view you take on it. As I said, music is very much a subjective art in terms of points of intersection with us. I'd love to hear as well your vantage point. Longtime fan of PYRAMAZE, it advances me, or initiate listener. What do you think? An early introduction for me, as I said, to the Danish rock market. But a couple of talents I've humored from this space I've really liked. PYRAMAZE is no exception. With more to come, I'm sure we're going to experience some fun numbers. And as of the next piece, I forget what it is at the moment. I do have it pulled up. That would be Particle. We're going to return to the original order that I saw. A necessary journey. But having humored their numbers, I mean, again, in preparation of what I have coming of other adjacent artists, you'll understand when we get to the 5th track in our survey, or as of Epitaph's lineup, track 9. But I'm grateful to be surveying their work, because these first 3 pieces have been a great experience. Your Last Call perfectly fits in that window. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.